Okay, let's speak to the former U.S. Marine officer, Issac Olvera, who joins us now from the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. Issac, thank you so much indeed for your time. Can we get something straight? Are you fighting alongside the Ukrainian armed forces?
At the moment, I'm a volunteer, so I provide logistical support to the Ukrainian forces and also occasionally do training. I spent the first 9 months of the war actively fighting, but I'm not involved actively in the fighting at the moment.
Can you tell us where you were fighting and what you were coming up against?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the early days of the war, and starting in early March, I was involved in the battles of Irpin, just outside of the capital of Ukraine, in Kiev, and then I also was involved in fighting in Mykolaiv and Kherson in the south, also in Donbass in last summer. That's around the time that the cities of Severodonetsk and Lysychansk were seeing heavy fighting, and then also in the vicinities of Zaporizhia out in the east as well.
Basically, almost every single hotspot that there's been in more than 500 days of fighting. Issac, did you come up against enemies that you were impressed with, that you thought had the ability to fight the fight that they've been sent into? Or did you feel that you were on the side that had the desire to fight for the protection of its homeland?
Well, I certainly was convinced, and still remain convinced that I'm on the side of the side that will ultimately prevail. However, um, I encountered fighters on the other side, and they had different levels of skill. But there were times when I did encounter fighters that appear to be well organized, well trained, well equipped. That has not been my experience. You know, Widely, but I did encounter that occasionally. So, and it's by no means should we, underestimate the capabilities of the Russian armed forces.
How do you find the Ukrainians are dealing with all the foreign weaponry that they've been given? It's a vast array of material.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So from day one, I've been nothing but impressed at how, uh, adaptable the Ukrainians and how adept they have been at incorporating foreign weapons from, as you say, many different countries, and train with it and become proficient in it, and in many cases find very novel uses for those weapons. So I've not yet had an experience where they don't learn to use the weapon fast enough, or that they don't bring it to the fight to good effects very quickly, much quicker than we would be able to incorporate those weapons in a traditional NATO military, I would say.
Isaac, the Germans have just agreed to send, I believe, 25 more of their Leopard tanks. The French are going to be sending some long-range cruise missiles. The Germans also 2 more Patriot launchers. How much difference is all of this making? And does it need to keep coming at a faster rate?
Yeah, absolutely. Since day one, uh, I've always said that we need more weapons more quickly in Ukraine. All those weapons that you just mentioned are certainly going to have a huge positive effect on the battlefield, and they would have had even a better effect had they come here 9 months ago or a year ago, right? But nonetheless, better late than never, as we say.
As far as you're concerned and what you saw down in Zaporizhia, that nuclear plant, which is the biggest in Europe, we've had experts saying that if something goes wrong there, the wind only has to be blowing in the wrong direction for it to hit many, many countries. You remember what happened at Chernobyl? They found nuclear fallout in the Republic of Ireland on the other side of Europe. How dangerous did you find the situation in terms of that nuclear plant?
Well, I actually just came from the city of Zaporizhia in the last 36 hours. And I also happened to be in Zaporizhia 9 months ago when inspectors from the International Atomic Agency first came to do the initial inspection on the plant. So I certainly don't remember, live the events of Chernobyl, but I'm aware of the historical record. It's hard to believe that we've been having this conversation where there's a possibility that there might be a nuclear disaster brought on by the Russians. So they're definitely nothing good can come of it, and the ramifications of nuclear disaster are beyond what any of us can imagine.
From what you've seen with your own eyes, how does it square with you that the Russians always say that they target legitimate military infrastructure when we've seen so many residential neighborhoods being hit by Russian drones and missiles?
Well, thankfully, no one believes that outside of Russia, and they're apologists. Everyone who has good critical thinking skills and is willing to use them, and anybody who has access to outside information knows that Russian reports cannot be trusted, and that is the case. That is the case here. Whatever they say about Ukrainian intentions, about potentially triggering an incident in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, is of course something that nobody should believe, and thankfully very few credible parties actually do believe. Their lies are very transparent.
Issac, speaking with people like you gives our viewers a much better understanding than anything they can read or see, because to hear from you, who have been there for so long, to give us an eyewitness account like that, we hugely appreciate it. Thank you so much indeed, Issac. And obviously, it's a strange thing to say during a war. Stay safe. Issac Olvera in Kiev.
Thanks so much. Slava Ukraina.